You will be asked, do you have any questions for me at the end of each interview? And this is the most important interview question to answer correctly. My name is Lucas Arellano, and I landed a corporate business development representative job without going to college or having experience, and now I teach people how they can do the same. In this video, I will go over the 4 categories of questions that you can ask in any job interview to not only help you stand out from the hiring managers, but to make it through the next round and prove that you're a high quality candidate. I wanna give you a couple tips before we start. The first tip is that you need to highlight any specific company research that you've done and integrate it in the questions that you ask to this company to prove that you're not just mass applying and that you wanna work there specifically. Another pro tip that goes for everyone, but specifically for BDR/SDR job seekers, when they give you an answer to the question that you just asked, don't just skip on to the next one. Instead, have a conversation with them based on that answer to show that you're not reading from a script. On the job as a BDR, you're going to have prospects on the phone and you're gonna ask them questions. When they answer one of those questions, if you abruptly move on to the next question, it'll be obvious that you're reading from a script. And if you do this in the interview, it'll be a huge red flag for the hiring managers. I'll actually show you how you can turn this from a list of questions into a free-flowing conversation. In the link below, I have a guide, and you can find this in the pre-interview section. In that guide, it has everything that you need to land your job as a BDR or SDR job seeker, regardless of your experience or college education. Realistically, you only need to ask 3 to 5 of these questions, but I'm gonna give you 14 so that you can pick from the ones that most relate to you and the company that you're applying for specifically. The first set of questions you're going to ask is going to highlight your potential to succeed at that company. What kind of sales targets or quotas can I expect through my ramp period and once I'm fully trained? Could you share how the BDR team has been performing in terms of quota attainment over the last 2 quarters? What do your top performing sales reps have in common? Have you seen a rep get stuck in the ramp period? And if so, what advice would you give that individual? The second category of questions are going to evaluate the growth potential that you have at that company and the long-term fit. What's the onboarding process like? What's it consist of? How long is it? What is the fastest that you've seen a BDR get promoted? I saw on LinkedIn that Jeremy recently got promoted from BDR to account executive, and it took him about 18 months. Is that typically how long the promotion track is, if of course the rep hits all their KPIs? I'm looking to work at a company where I could plant my roots and really grow within. So when I make it to that account executive position, is there room to get promoted to a managerial role? The third category of questions are going to ensure that you fit there culturally and that the benefits are sufficient for your needs. On the benefits side of things, you can find where they're listed in either the job description on LinkedIn or in their career page under the Why You Should Work For Us section. Here's a couple of examples. I read on the company website that you guys offer a pretty competitive 401k matching. Can you share a little more on that? I read on the company website that you guys have very comprehensive health and wellness benefits. Can you tell me a little more about that? I saw that you heavily promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. Can you share with me on how that's implemented in the workspace? And finally, guys, the last but definitely not the least category of questions. These are considered the closing questions and are the most important to ask. This will set you up for serious success in later rounds of interviews. The first question is, I've spoken with Jeremy and read a couple case studies, but is there any information that you can send me over or that I could look through to better understand the product and your company's services for the later rounds in the interview? The question about hesitation and moving forward. I feel like almost everyone asks this, but they ask it in the completely wrong way. You can't just say at the very end of the interview, do you have any hesitations about moving me forward? It's too abrupt and it's almost kind of cringe. You wanna have a conversation with it and really butter it up. Here's an example of what that might look like. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me today. It's been a real pleasure learning about your company and its goals for the next year. Now, I'm really an open book and I really value criticism. So I'd like to ask for complete honesty here. Is there anything after reviewing my resume or interviewing me that would give you any hesitations about recommending me to move on to the next round? Once they answer that question, move on and say, awesome. Well, when can you expect for me to hear back from your team? What that's gonna do is not only allow you to follow up with them if they don't get back to you, but on the role as a BDR, if you're on the phone with someone or in a meeting, you always wanna get a next step in the sales process. So get that time on the calendar that you'll follow up with them if they don't get back to you. For the BDR/SDR job seekers who don't know how to get the interviews, don't know how to conduct messaging to hiring managers, or you just don't know how to get through them, I have a step-by-step guide on how you can do all of those in the link below. Thanks for watching and feel free to comment on anything that you need help with specifically.